Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of council of December 6th, it being 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Council, any concerns with the agenda or any conflicts? I'll entertain a motion to adopt as presented. Second, all in favor? Carried. We go straight then to item 5.1 on page 3. And I do not see Ms. Smith. Or do I? Is she on? Don't see Mr. Douglas either. Okay, the next item is the parties aren't here either.
Your worship, Mr. Manicum is available online if there are questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, we have a recommendation in front of us for $7,000. Make our search engine better. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Top.
Thank you. I guess my question here with this $7,000, is this expected to just be a one-time cost, or do we expect there to be some sort of an annual impact?
Mr. Manicum?
Thank you for the question. It will be a yearly fee. So it's a subscription fee for $7,000 per year.
Did you say it'll be $7,000 per year?
Yes, correct.
You're a bit echoey in this room, so. Okay. Okay, other questions, council? How did you settle on this whatever this particular one is? Is it the best? Is it I mean,
Yeah. Basically, we did some research on different tools. Currently, we have a basic Google site search, which doesn't do a great job of searching for minutes and agendas and reports and bylaws. So the main question we got from residents and staff complaint was that they could not search PDF files very well. So we looked at several different solutions. The search that we found, a lot of municipalities are currently using across Canada, and it is starting to use AI-powered search features, machine learning, and the search will improve over time by seeing how our residents, our website users use the search feature. We found that it was one of the top 3 software solutions on the market right now.
Thank you. That's the last bit is the answer to the question. I think that it's one of the top 3, Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you to the chair. To me, this is a level of service question, and I hesitate to make people use older tools, put more work into it. But I mean, for my part, I'd actually don't for $7,000 a year. I don't think it's warranted. Thank you.
Oh, you do not think it's warranted? Okay. Other, please, Councillor Bell.
Yes, through the chair, probably a similar question around warranted, or whether it's the best use of our money to spend. It was really around efficiencies. Your talk about staff time and how much time it might take to Google that type of thing. Are there any other efficiencies that come out of this other than staff time that you can see?
Yeah, I can provide you some added information. One of the things that will be really helpful is approximately 43 to 45% of site visitors use a search bar as opposed to going through the navigation. So it's very critical that we provide a good search bar for staff, website users, whether it's residents or yourselves. The side benefit also is We would use it for our current public website, but the side benefit is our intranet, which is our employee website, our art festival website, our archives website. Those websites can also use this new search feature. So that's a nice side benefit. It will make searching a lot easier. And another benefit is accessibility, which is a big thing. Voice search will be added to the site search bar. So you'll be able to click on, and for accessibility reasons, it will make things a lot easier for certain residents or certain users. It'll also provide an admin portal on the back end for us to see trends of what people are searching. It'll show us gaps in our content. So if we need to add new content, that would help, or may perhaps pass them on to different governments, whether it's SCRD or any other Sunshine Coast organizations. So there's tons of benefits to enhancing this search feature.
Thank you. Sorry,
Go
something
ahead,
else or?
please. Yeah, I have one more question. But you go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I find search phenomenally useful on any website. So I'm, that we can search on PDFs is hugely, a huge win. So I'm in favor.
Yes, through the chair, a clarification, it's $7,000 a year.
Yes,
You said yes.
yes.
And is that, are we just locked into it on a yearly basis? We can change if something better comes up?
Yes, we're locked into it just for the year. If we want to change, we can definitely switch if we want to.
Okay, great. So
Okay.
I agree that I think technology is the way that of the future for, getting more efficiency. So I'm in support of this.
Okay, Counselor Toth, you're gonna move it?
Almost. I've got one question first. Recognizing that this is $7,000, this recommendation to be funded from the COVID Restart Grant. Are we then expecting to see in 2025 a budget ask to see this rolled into the regular operating budget? Something to that effect. And the reason I ask the question is because this gives us sort of a 1 year as almost a pilot project where we could see how it affects things and if it does improve things before we commit to really funding it permanently. I have a
Yeah.
lot of concerns about $7,000 a year, but I also have a lot of concerns about our current search capabilities on our website. So I'm interested
So
in
the
it as a
the recommendation, I guess, yes, which would be the motion, would be to fund it for 7,000. There's no, I don't see any reference to anything beyond that. So-
subsequent years. Yeah,
so
that's
the-
my question.
yeah. So make this motion, and that by implication doesn't commit us to more than 1 year.
Well, I just wanted clarification on whether we expect to see this in 2025 as a budget increase.
We do, somewhere. Mr. Well, I don't know. Yes, okay, I'm getting a nod from our finance department. Don't have to accept it next year.
Then I'll move the recommendation on page 6 as presented.
Thank you. And the second, and I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I did.
Please.
Thank you through the chair. I just wanted to ask, for instance, if we wanted to search something in the minutes, would we be able to use this search engine to help us do that? Because as a counselor, I find actually our current setup kind of cumbersome. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, you will. There's a minute, anything online will be published on our website, which the minutes are, will be searchable. Yep, good point. Okay, ready for the question? All in favor of the resolution as a resolution on page 6? Opposed? Counselor Shepherd is opposed. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to item 5.1. This is the accounts payable invoice automation software. So Ms. Smith is here. Maybe before anyone else asks, is this a one-time fee? Or will we be facing a budget request next year?
Thank you for the question. I believe it is a one-time fee. I'm going to refer that to our manager of IT.
Oh. Oops. It's interesting. Camera work, yeah. I
The
think
purpose of
Mr.
the amount of the 45,000 is to hire a consultant, so I believe it's a one-time fee.
Yes, it is a one-time fee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, how do you want to proceed? I've never heard of Power Automate, so Microsoft seems to be live and well. Adding new functions. Yes, please.
I'm assuming, yeah, that's working, that there's efficiency to be had by implementing this system. Am I correct?
Yes,
In
thanks.
that, is that the main goal?
Yes, thanks for the question. So we process about 200 to 300 payments a month, and a lot of the processing is manual, lots of moving around for approvals and filing and what have you. So this process or this tool would allow us to basically handle the invoice once and then run it through a workflow that would automate all of the process, so we don't have to follow up with emails and just make the way more efficient. And then the end result would be, it would be electronically filed.
Okay. And is there an anticipation of sort of the time frame? Not when is it going to happen, but how long will it take to implement it?
I'm going to defer that question to our manager of
Yep.
IT.
Mr.
It's
Manicum?
probably going to be a Q4 in 2024 because we have a SharePoint document management system that will precede this project.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to move recommendation 1.
Okay, is there a seconder? Thank you. I have a question, and that is this, this is a unique piece of software, a new one, I guess, but are any of the other local governments using this software as yet? Mr. Manicum, please.
Yes, many BC municipalities are using this Microsoft Power Automate. One that's kind of leading the way in British Columbia is Kelowna, and they're using Power Automate to automate a lot of their routine mundane tasks. And we're going to be starting our journey with this invoice automation for the organization, and hopefully this will be a pilot project that will lead into automating other tasks in the future for other departments and divisions.
Okay, thanks. So it's being used in other municipalities, but not as, to the best of your knowledge, on the coast as yet? And at the town of Gibsons or the SCRD?
No, they're not using it as of now.
Thank you. Councillor Top.
Thank you. Sort of relates to the other item that we'd already voted on. I'm supportive of this going forward. But I'm just curious about the timing. If we're not looking at it until Q4, anyways, we're in the midst of our budget process right now. So how, is there a reason why we didn't see it as a budget proposal? Thank you.
I'm not sure, again, who to look. Yep.
Thank you for the question. This was originally going to be brought forward to council in September, and it was deferred. Just there was other priorities, and now we're bringing it forward today.
But the question is, it could in fact,
It could be rolled up into the budget for sure. Yes.
if it was a bigger number, I'd feel stronger about it, but hope we still have money left in COVID restart by then. Okay, anything else, council? Yes, Councillor Inkster and then Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. What, in the past, I've asked for because we have so many reserve funds and we've received a report on it recently, and a number of these funds are new based on what has happened over the COVID issue and a couple of the monies that we've been provided with, thankfully, from other levels of government to deal with some of the challenges associated with COVID, et cetera. We have a couple of funds, and I would love to know, when we're drawing these amounts from it, what it leaves the funds as. So whenever we are told this is this amount, and then it would be nice if it would just be noted, leaving that reserve fund with a total left or something like that. I've asked for it before. It's almost in a vacuum when we make these decisions based on, it's almost easy to say, oh, I'm glad to use that reserve fund that we didn't have to tax for. But it's money that we are also planning to utilize in future, so, right? So I'd like to see
not-
how much is there.
Okay, it's not necessarily a trivial response, but I think the intent, I agree with the intent.
I didn't understand that. I'm sorry.
If you have several different items coming out of that, are you asking how much will be left tomorrow or in anticipation of what we committed in the future? So I think it's the latter, but it's not trivial. Councilor Bell.
Through the chair, also, I'm wondering, I'm sure this is something that you've looked at and I'm sort of suspecting that IT is going to be something that's going to continue to evolve. Just in terms of where we are regionally on some of these things. I know that you said, that the town of Gibson's SCRD may not be using this, but is there opportunity as we look forward to see if there's any opportunity to share costs here at any point in time? Is there sort of a strategy around that?
That's both a software question and a accounting question, I guess, in this context. Is there any work, Mr. Yates, please?
Yes, the district endeavors to work with all of the other local governments wherever possible. Directors and department heads meet along the coast regularly. And so these things come up wherever possible. Because of the different situations and sizes, it isn't always doable, but we do look for that as much as we can. And we're also looking at sharing things where possible.
Okay, anything else, council? Did somebody move it? Yep. Okay. All in favor? Carried. All right, asset retirement obligation. Boy, oh boy, is this exciting stuff. Oops, did I say that out loud? Ms. Smith, you want to, is there anything you want to add to the report?
Thank you. I can do a little preamble on it if you like.
We're in your hands.
All right. So before council is a draft asset retirement obligation policy. And the purpose of creating this policy is to support the recent changes in the Public Sector Accounting Board reporting standards. As part of this standard, municipalities are required to prepare a policy that establishes guidelines to ensure compliance in financial reporting. Existing laws and regulations require public sector entities to take specific action to retire certain tangible capital assets at the end of its useful life. And a good example of that would be the demolition of a building that has asbestos or lead in it. And other obligations to retire tangible capital assets that arise through contracts, court judgments, or leases is also required. And an example of that would be when a lease expires and restoration of a premises is required. And staff has prepared the draft policy for your consideration.
Council? Are there any major things that we face? To the best of our knowledge, we don't have a building we're going to demolish, much less that has asbestos. But are there other big ones that have been identified?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, the septage receiving facility, which is
course.
under lease.
Right, thank you. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yeah, through the chair. I'm just looking at the date here. Effective date, January 1st, 2023. Would it be 2024 or 2023?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's 2024.
Thank you.
Okay, oh, Councillor Top.
Thank you. Just a short one in that my understanding of asset retirement obligations is that that applies to not only leased assets, but like we need to now start considering the end of life cycle cost of clearing this building from its land, for example. So I'm just looking for confirmation that that is indeed the case.
Yes, it would be for any properties that the district owns, but providing that it has like a legal obligation, like the removal of asbestos or lead. So if there isn't anything in the building, then there is no legal obligation. And there's no ARO.
Right, I just want to see if Councillor Toth has a follow-up. Okay, Councillor Shipp.
And to the chair, could I ask the wording for the policy, is that given to us by the province? Where does it come from? Thanks.
Thank you for the question. It comes from our auditors as well as the Government Financial Officers Association and consultants with KPMG.
Is that all? And it's based on the Public Sector Accounting Board's handbook.
That is correct.
It wasn't a question. All right, council. I know that's what this is what everybody in the public is here for tonight. Hear about this. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Then we go to Bill 44, I guess. Is that right? I didn't miss anything. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Allen for.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is on this evening's agenda for information. You'll note there's no specific recommendation that staff is seeking, but we do believe it's important enough of information to share with council and share publicly. I am aware that council has received emails, updates on this from the province, and but nonetheless, there's a lot to it. It's going to be framing our work plan for the next year or two, and really perpetually after that, with required updates to housing needs assessments and official community plans and zoning bylaws and so forth. And I attended a legal seminar a couple of weeks ago, and one of the leading local government lawyer / planners in the province has indicated that this is the biggest change to the Local Government Act since the 1980s. And so it's significant, and I just wanted to ensure that I have this opportunity to share it here with council this evening and open the public dialogue moving forward. I did touch upon it on the budget presentation a couple of weeks ago as well, in terms of our obligations to make some significant changes to zoning bylaw 580 by June of next year, to update our housing needs assessment by December of next year, and complete the OCP review by 2025 and update the OCP every 5 years thereafter. And so the province is really establishing the work plan, not only for the District of Sechelt, but municipalities throughout the province. In some respects, we're well positioned to do this with the new zoning bylaw and the impending OCP review. In other respects, this is a lot of work, and we are seeking support, ideally through grant and other programs in the province. There's grant applications to be made, as well as financial distribution of funds that we expect to hear more in January. We also expect to receive the regulation and perhaps guidebooks on implementing the regulation. Some of it remains unknown. It's not yet clear what frequent transit means and whether or not the Calgary Street Exchange qualifies as frequent transit. And then there's transit-oriented development, which really is around SkyTrain and Metro Vancouver level of transit. Nonetheless, we haven't seen any hard metrics as to what this means, and more to come. But I just had a lot of information and updates coming my way, and thought it'd be prudent to share with council and the public moving forward. And great, thank you.
Thank you. Just before we go to questions, let's keep in mind this is this is an update, whether no point in debating it per se, because it's being imposed on us. So Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we mentioned in the SDR discussion. It's imposition of provincial powers over certain areas. What I would ask though, and this is something that I'm certainly could get behind, is supporting staff in securing funding to work with the province on providing more housing within our community. And that's the kind of thing that I think this council should be actively pursuing through the staff work and or funding mechanisms and or planning mechanisms in order to provide more housing, whichever way we can. So just another thing that I think that we should support in letter form and or presentations to the province, whether it be at UBCM or other ways. We really need to be considering that. Those are the kinds of things that we should be advocating. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bell. You're up.
There we go, around capacity. And you did mention that in here in terms of work plan, et cetera. I see with a couple of these deadlines that look like they are like, for example, the one in June, you know, are those going to be hard deadlines? And you're looking at capacity as you look forward, and that's probably looking at being included in the budget, et cetera. So just want to flag that. I know that that's what you're mentioning, because as we've already talked about, we just don't know what's going to be coming down from the province. There's going to be a lot of offloading stuff. There's going to be a lot of mandated things. So I think we need to be in the game. We will be, we need to, but just wanted to flag that. And funding is definitely one thing we'll be on board. Any comment around the staffing part?
Tough question. We are recruiting for our vacant position of senior development planner and hoping to fill that role in the coming weeks. And that would round our complement back out again and take the pressure off of the rest of us. Some of the funding from the Housing Accelerator Fund, should we be successful, will be able to be used towards staffing and or consultant support, noting that every municipality in the province is in the same boat. So in terms of the supply and demand consideration, that'll be a challenge as well. So yes, we expect to have a report on the December 20th council agenda seeking council resolution to apply for the UBCM Complete Communities Grant. Similar, the funds would go towards updating our housing needs assessment, which was done in 2019 and into early 2020, but to meet legislative requirements, we need to get going on that as well. So if we can take that burden from District of Sechelt specific taxpayers to grant money from UBCM and or provincial or federal government, to ease the burden a little bit, and we'll bring forward all options we can come up with.
Thank you. I think it's really important that we have your perspective on that and that the public hears that. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Hi, thanks. In that meeting, did they give you any timeline on when those hard metrics might arrive?
Through the chair, we are hoping and expecting and hoping to hear more in January.
Okay. The OCP contemplating 20 years of housing supply rather than 5. That's really struck me when I read that. When we redo the housing needs assessment, will that be done with the other governments because we're all on the same timeline? So are we looking for regional sort of funding for that in that grant, or?
Again, through the chair, yes, I think that would be the best way. That's what we did in 2019. All three District of Sechelt, Town of Gibsons, and Sunshine Coast Regional District went in together. I believe we had a grant at that time from UBCM, and it was easy for us to do that. The Complete Communities Grant offers different funding streams based on independent application or regional application. And I'll be following up with my colleagues. We have a scheduled meeting early next week, and that'll be certainly on the agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
It's good that that Director Allen mentioned that everyone's doing this in the province and will be looking for funding, and if he talks to the province, he wants to mention this, I don't mind he can put my name next to it if he wants, is that a number of weeks ago, we all know the living wage information that came out, and I think the Sunshine Coast is first or second in terms of the high living wage needed to live here based on the cost of rents and the costs of housing. So I really think we should be at the top of any list that looks at funding and or aids to our housing provision industry. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? We don't. formally receive reports, so if there are no other questions, I guess we will move to the next item, which is 6.1, starting on page 19. And magically, look at that, our development planning manager appears. Mr. Hall, we've got a rather lengthy report on 5875 Reef Road. Council, I'm assuming you've had a chance to read through it. So anything, Mr. Hall, to highlight?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to reiterate, this proposal council has seen previously. It's been through a number of iterations in terms of changes to number of units and site layout. But the applicant has been working through a variety of issues and obviously the environmental constraints on the property. And what we have before you tonight is sort of the final iteration ready for a bylaw based on 49 townhouse units. And otherwise, everything remains relatively similar. They've come forward with a community amenity contribution offer as part of their updated package. And as noted in the report, because of the slight increase in units, it does kick them into an OCP amendment with respect to density. Similar again to a lot of our more recent rezonings. They're not changing the land use designation, but it's an issue of units per hectare parameters in the OCP, which does connect to work that our senior policy planner is doing in terms of OCP amendments related to updating units per hectare and floor area ratio aspects. So this is something that as that amendment moves forward, we'll be keeping an eye on some of these individual amendments to see how they mesh. But in terms of the OCP amendment, it's relatively minor in terms of density, but it is required now because of the increase in units. Otherwise, both bylaws are ready for first reading, and we've kind of in line with other rezoning applications outlined some potential adoption conditions in terms of the water conservation aspect, as well as the community amenity contribution based on the applicant's offer letter.
Thank you. Councillor Toth is ready.
Thank you. I've got two questions. I see that the property line is being proposed to be changed to exclude the riparian areas within the site. Who ends up owning and being responsible for those riparian areas? Are we receiving parkland, so to speak, in this project?
Got there first. Mr. Hall?
Thank you for the question. That I would say is a unresolved issue. We haven't yet determined who should own those portions. The applicant obviously is proposing something as part of their drawings, but the district has not determined the tenure of those areas and what should be done. So that'll be something we'll obviously need to work through moving forward. So yeah, I would say, what's proposed on the drawings is a proposal. We will certainly need to figure out the implications of, who owns what, whether it remains private lands and covenanted or becomes public land, or that'll be something we will explore as we move forward.
Good. Thank you. That causes me a lot of concern because I don't want to go into this making decisions based on whether we might or might not, or want or don't want that land. I'm leaning towards us not wanting that land personally. My other question though, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the decision not to take a road dedication for Marine Way across the one edge of the property. It was mentioned in here as part of the logic for being able to go to 49 units from the 45 that we saw the last time. Thank you.
So to take the road. Okay, Mr. Hall, do you follow the question?
Yes, I think, this has been probably one of the challenging aspects for staff to consider for this particular property. There is an existing road dedication 10 meters wide for Marine Way just south of this property. There's obviously a creek running through a big chunk of this. It puts into question the feasibility of building a road here. There's certainly a need for east-west connections in this area, and this is, you know, one small property amongst a much larger block between sort of Shoal Way to the north and Trail Avenue extending west at the southern end, and between Lighthouse and Reef is quite a substantial block of area that has development potential. It also has you know, Cook Creek and a lot of other tributaries running through it. So the issue of road network in this area is certainly a pretty big one to grapple with, and planning and engineering staff have spent a lot of time looking at both this property and its adjacent properties and really thinking about the potential road connections we need or want in this area. And what we've settled on is certainly, you know, Lighthouse is a major north-south connection to extend further south in some kind of alignment. And obviously the extension of Trail Avenue to the west that would link up with Lighthouse Avenue. And we feel those are certainly a major connection that maybe, you know, is much more feasible to construct and easier to manage rather than trying to deal with Marine Way. There certainly will be other roads going into this area, but it was determined that the extending Marine Way to the west was not as feasible or desirable, and that there was other options, other opportunities to secure the connections that we need, both east-west and north-south, to provide those major linkages in and around this area. You know, it might be a little bit different if this property was being developed along with the property directly adjacent to the north to give them more room potentially, although that property is also heavily impacted by Cook Creek. But I think we've settled on this property as constrained enough that it would, for us to require a major local public through connection would render it even less developable. And there's enough other areas that we can secure the connections that we need that we're satisfied with the proposal as it is in terms of providing access to this property for this development, and then, you know, still having potential pedestrian connections around the area.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I'm going to go back to Councillor Toth for the follow-up, but none of this is building into the existing right of way. Would that be a fair statement?
No, so they're not giving us any additional dedication, and the existing dedication along their southern boundary is not being constructed within.
Thank you, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, in hearing the planning staff are looking at possible other connections that might be more suitable around this area. I know I've heard Councillor McLaughlin's concerns for a neighborhood plan previously. Is this an area that has been or is under consideration as part of the transportation master plan work that staff are currently undertaking?
Mr. Hall, Mr. Allen?
I mean, I could speak briefly to that. I mean, yes, certainly this area is definitely part of the transportation master plan. There's some certainly major linkages that have been noted as part of, you know, what we need, you know, to look at as part of the master plan. It's also an area that is ripe for you know, area planning or neighborhood planning. That's something that you know, there's a larger block of properties surrounding this particular subject lot that are owned by the same company who's in the last year kind of reached out to us. They've hired a consultant to start doing some work on potential development options for their property. So that definitely for that larger area, there's a need for neighborhood planning, especially to get at the road network and servicing pieces, particularly because there's also a lot of environmental constraints with the creek areas. So there's definitely a lot of further work that would need to go into developing that larger area, and that's something we've taken some steps towards.
Okay. It's yeah. I think what I take away from this is that I think the hint is that taking trail westward over towards Reeves is more likely, but nobody's making any commitments to that at this point. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you to the chair. I think this project is premature. I would like to see it deferred until at least we get more information on the Homes for People policy. We can take a closer look. I mean, it may be also if we have a little bit of a cursory OCP review, we might find it might be a place where we might want public housing or something like that. I think it's just premature to have this development go through at this point. I don't think it's done in a very sustainable way. I would like to see a pro forma for how much profit is expected from this development, because apparently we can ask for that, considering it's assessed at, with a house on it currently at about $900,000. So, and I checked that today. So, and I wanted to know if there was a daycare nearby. I wondered if that daycare was still operational. Because again, that would suggest that this might be a more suitable site for some different type of development. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so on the daycare, is anybody on staff? I believe little children is operational.
Little Scholars.
Yes.
Yes, operational.
Right.
As far as we're
Okay,
aware.
thank you.
Mhm.
And then the other question, I'll let Mr. Shirley do. Sorry, I was going to introduce you properly, but yes, do you have, please, if you, yep, try and answer that question. Please. Yeah.
I guess to the chair, where should I start with responding? to
No,
some
no,
of these
if
questions?
you would, I think we're not here for a presentation, but maybe if you can
100%.
answer the Councillor McLaughlin's question.
Sure. Through the chair, in regards to a daycare, there is an amenity building on the property that's proposed. We're not proposing a commercial or a licensed scale of daycare, but it is purpose designed to accommodate a home-based daycare as an accessory use, which allows up to 8 children. So that would be potentially suitable for one of the property owners. It's contingent upon uptake, but that, sort of responds to the need for daycare in the community.
Great. Please, Councillor Bell.
Through the chair. And I'm just wondering about on page 32, under the archaeological, is there, have you heard back from the nation yet in terms of any concerns that they may have? Nothing as yet?
The referral response to the First Nation went out a few months previous when Mr. Boberwitz was managing the file. I do not believe that there has been a referral response received as of yet, although I can defer that to Mr. Hall.
Yeah. Okay, great. Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, thanks. There's a lot of information here. I look at the buildings and I'm glad to see some peaked roofs. Color scheme's a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. It's just all about how our community looks, right? When people live here. So that's why I always talk about those things. The riparian zone, the question about that, just based on our rules of riparian usage and the restrictions contained therein, I would think that they'll be looking for us to have some, probably us to be more in the riparian zone than they are. And I know what other council members have said, but I think we should be looking after our riparian zones, much like we do in Chapman and much like we do in Wakefield and other creek areas with the restrictions nearby on the use. And we also have to be mindful of atmospheric rivers and how if we have non-control over riparian zone, it leads to some potential problems in those creek areas. So I just think it's something we should be considering is the riparian zones. And I know that people that build developments and our houses don't necessarily like the riparian zones because they can't build in them, of course. And the ecological pieces and the importance to the community is so strong that it's not necessarily a piece of the environment that they want to have parts of.
Right.
Other than that, though, I wanted to ask about fire issues. I look at the presentation and the information contained therein, and I was wondering if the fire department has taken a good look at this, just based on there's a road to the side. I'm not sure where that comes in the development, how wide it is, and then the road up the middle of the width of that, and how, if in fact fire trucks can get through there, get up that road and turn around and things like that, because we know that it's going to be the only development in the middle there, so you can't really go around. You have to go into the development to deal with any fire issues. So wanted to hear.
Yeah, maybe can I direct that first, Mr. Hull? We will presumably be referring this out to agencies, am I right?
Yeah, certainly part of our normal practice is at first reading to do another referral if we, we have done referrals in the past before the bylaw, and certainly we have already had the fire department take a look at this, and even at previous iterations of the site plan. So they have had some input into the proposal, and as a result, the applicant has already made some changes to the layout and road designs to meet those needs in terms of turning radius and things like that. But certainly as part of the first reading, we would do another formal referral again, saying, here's the bylaw, here's the current proposal, and proceed with our normal referral agencies to get comments directly on the bylaw and the most up-to-date proposal.
Okay, so then some comfort and there'll be more.
Comfort in the fact there's already been fire department consultation, there'll be additional. Yeah, okay, thanks. I would have loved to have heard from the proponent on that, but thanks from staff, but also from the proponent, because I know that he was ready. It's just a concern. It's not a make or break for me, but I just look at the tightness of the buildings and the thinness of that straight through street. So I'm sure they're aware of that. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. Okay, Council, other comments, questions? Councillor Bell? Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
through the chair. I didn't, the question around hearing back from the nation was referred to Mr. Hall, and he didn't get a chance to answer. Mr. Hall, have you heard back from the nation?
No, not yet. So that would be another part of the first reading referral to reach out to them. I think there previously had been a request for an extension, which was granted, and we still hadn't heard back. So we will be following up with them as part of the first reading referral again.
Great, thank you. Is that okay? Yep. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, through the chair, I think regarding First Nations, I think they wrote quite an extensive letter with comments regarding Cook Creek on a nearby development. So there's a lot with that, which I highlighted before. And also I'm wondering on page 20 of 356, there's a table there that says DP areas proposed none. And I was looking at the DP areas, and that, the creek does have DP areas. And if you look at the environmental mapping on the SCRD, there's even more extensive areas covered by the environmental concerns that the SCRD has. So I'm just wondering if that's an error. Because it says
Mr. Hall,
proposed
yeah, I
none.
see where you're referencing. In the middle of the page, the bottom of the table, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, so I guess that's perhaps just a typo that carried over from the zoning designation. And actually I see now the OCP designation row and the DP area row, the titles have been swapped. So that's where the confusion comes from. The DP areas should be 2 lines up above, where DPA number 2 and 7 do apply to the property. The existing and proposed would be referencing the OCP designation, where the existing designation is residential, and they're not proposing to change the land use designation. So the title of those rows is a typo. It's been swapped. So yeah, no, definitely the development permit areas do apply to the property, and that's been a major constraint on their ability to define buildable area because of DPA 2. And that's another piece moving forward to address the floodplain aspect. That's another report that will be coming forward to address that aspect of the development permit area requirements.
Mr. Hall, just so we're clear, so where it reads right now, OCP designation, that should read DP areas. And then OCP designation is the line below.
Yeah, so in the table 1, in the row below size of properties, that should be DP areas. And then below zoning designation, that should be OCP designation
And then below that,
is the image.
no. Okay, everybody clear? Yeah. All right. Good. Okay, Councilor McLaughlin?
There's my light. Yeah, thank you through the chair. Well, as I said, I would like to make a motion that this be deferred until we get more information on the Homes for People program and we take a cursory look at the OCP to try and do some cursory planning for this area before we move ahead with the processing of this and, you know, all the public excitement and whatever. We do have a lot of projects already in the area underway. I mean, they're illustrated in this report, but none of them are totally, they're just proposed at this point. So I think we already have a lot underway to follow through. And this is just, I think, too much for us to take on at this point. Our planners are going to be busy doing a lot of other things. So I would like to see this.
So you're making a motion
Yeah.
to defer consideration of this?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Toth is seconding it. Okay. Please.
Thank you. If I may, I'd actually like to amend the motion to defer to include further information about how the riparian area is to be managed.
Yes,
that-
that's
okay.
fine. Thank you.
Right. So, Mr. Shirley, okay, yeah.
Through the chair for clarity to all of council, the proposed property lines that are shown on the site plan were put there by the project architect to ensure that setbacks would be met under any condition, whether those lands were dedicated or not. The owner has been expressly clear with us that they are open to either arrangement, so the land's being dedicated to the district and managed by the district, or to keeping them with the property and they would be maintained by the strata. We very much appreciate council's feedback on your preference so that we can move forward with the preferred option.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. You got? Yeah. Maybe a friendly amendment, but try the full motion with the amendment. We'll see if Councilor McLaughlin will support it.
Okay, and I'll defer to the counselor that made the motion if I missed a component of it, but the final motion, including the amendment, would be to defer the application until the environmental concerns are addressed.
Go ahead. The first part was.
The first part was until we get more details on the Homes for People program, which hopefully will be, according to the Director of Planning, fairly soon. So we have a feel for what we're dealing with, and also perhaps a cursory OCP review of the area to see if there's other possible planning details for the neighborhood that we would consider before.
Oh,
I'm sorry, just for
Yeah,
clarity,
please.
was it a possible OCP review or was it requiring a preliminary OCP review?
Well,
said a cursory review.
a cursory review. I mean, I think it's required, but it doesn't have to be like a full-blown detailed OCP detailed review. But I think we can do like a little bit of kind of, neighborhood plan, some drawing out and design for what is going on in that neighborhood, especially taking into account Cook Creek and the environmental aspects, which the First Nations have highlighted as a major concern. Thank you.
So just, I'm trying to see if we've got a resolution that we can, but is it on the drafting of the resolution, please? Okay.
Just a process question and the clarity on the resolution. Was the amendment accepted by the initial mover?
No, we don't
Was
know
not.
what the motion, that's why I want to get the motion first.
Okay,
and
okay.
Comprehensively. And then, so, sorry, but can you read us what you've got so far? We'll try and
So the motion, including the amendment, as I understand it, would be to defer the application until the environmental concerns are addressed and until more details are provided on the Homes for People program, as well as a cursory official community plan review in the surrounding area.
So you're,
That's pretty detailed anyway.
okay, so you're prepared to make that motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
My
And,
only comment was that I specifically identified riparian areas.
Right,
So, yeah, it's just a small word change, but
in the first part. Right, replace environmental with riparian area. Okay. So we'll hear it again. But I think, let's hear it again and then you can both confirm whether you're moving it and seconding.
And just for one more point of clarity, an official community plan review is included with any development application process, but I would defer to planners to expand on that if needed. The motion that we now have is to defer the application until the riparian concerns are addressed and more details are received on the Homes for People program, in addition to a cursory official community plan review of the surrounding area.
Making that motion?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very good. Okay, seconded. Now, Counselor Inkster, your microphone was on, now it's off. Look at the red button at your finger, that's my key.
Turn it on an angle. Red always means stop to me. So just a process question then, is the deferral motion has no discussion, correct?
Discussed it for
We can discuss the table.
a moment, I'll allow discussion.
Okay, well, okay, I'm trying to get my head around the fact that it's allowed with the deferral motion, but okay. We'll pretend it is. So I won't be I was gonna wait for the vote, but I won't be supporting this because we have, these are good ideas to look at these in terms of changes in the area, but in a sense, the district has to, we need to get ahead of what's happening in our community. And so if in fact we're going to put as a proviso on many of the proposals, a community plan change, what I would suggest we do is look at some area-specific mini plans and see if staff is able to do that rather than having that as a proviso for a number of deferments of a number of development proposals for needed housing in our community.
Good, thank you. I happen to agree with that. Counselor Bell.
Through the chair, I don't support the overall amendment. I think that they should be separated. I think the riparian one should be on its own. And the other piece is too big, or the other piece I do not agree with. So I'd like to see the amendment for the riparian one repeated, and I would support that. I will not support the whole
And
thing.
I'd offer to council, remember, this is first reading.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I can safely say staff and the proponent are listening to us. So before it comes back for second reading or any other matters, I'm sure they will address much of the concerns that are being expressed here. That's kind of the way I'm going, that I'm okay with first reading because I agree with Councillor Inkster's comments. I think we need to keep moving with much needed housing. Yes, we have a lot of applications, but not all of them are necessarily going to get built because they don't necessarily have builders to build them. So I'd rather see a number of them approved if it gets to that. I do hope they all get it. Councillor McLaughlin and then Inkster.
Yes, through the chair. I'm just proposing regarding this development to say it's involving numerous other developments. The other ones are already underway somewhat, so I'm not including that. I'm also concerned about water. I mean, if we approve developments, to me, that is like giving a commitment to provide water to these developments for the entire future. And so I think it's prudent for us to actually carefully start managing the number of developments we start pursuing so that we can have some management over the demand for water, which we don't have long-term solutions for. So that's really, I think it's a good time to do some planning, rein back some of this, until we get some more policy information on it, start looking at how we want to use land around here, not just say that every 3-acre parcel that comes up, rectangular piece of property, is something that is good for us and is good for the environment, because I think we need more planning, especially in this Cook Creek area, to address the real environmental aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Inkster, you.
Thanks. I just to be clear, I'm not a proponent of okay, I'll just move this closer then. I'm not a proponent of letting balls or wheels continue to roll down the road on developments to make sure that we, as the approving body, gets it right. We need to get that right. But what I'm saying is that we do have a responsibility to do some changes and some analysis as a municipality based on the demand for this beautiful community we live in. And there's demand. People want to build here and people want to live here. So we need to get ahead of that. I can tell you that I think that planning will come back to us if in fact we ask them those questions, and they'll say it's an infill area close to community amenities. And we need to make improvements with parkland nearby. Of course, we know with Kinnikinnick's there, we need to make improvements to the road network. I bet you that's what planning will say. I'm not, I know that they're more qualified than me, but if we ask them to do that, but we need to get ahead of these things and start to have those kinds of information back to us. Cause they're going to say it's infill, because it's infill.
Okay.
And it's affordable housing in a lot of cases. Thanks.
Great. All right. Thank you. Counselor Bell, were you wanting to say something?
Again, through the chair, general comment that, yes, I agree with Councillor Inkster. We have to move forward with housing. And also water security needs to be a priority in all of these plans. So as we move forward, and I see a lot of that in here, but I want that it will come forward in our second round.
Right.
So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor Toth.
Thank you. Hearing some of the things that Councillor Inkster has said and Councillor Bell, I think that actually deferring this allows us that opportunity to get ahead of things. We might get to first or second or third reading, the rules from the province come down. They might change this project midstream on both us and the developer. Certainly, I don't think waiting a couple months to hear from the province is going to be the end of the world. Especially in the times we are in with construction being so hot and hard to get contractors for regardless. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor Inkster.
In our community, and I like a lot of parts of it. But I just think it's good to have some thorough discussion of it. The deferral that Councillor Toth is referencing, I was thinking about this the other day. What happens now if we just say, let's wait on this? Well, he's correct. I mean, there's a lot of building, there's a lot of plans in front of us from this group. Things take time to get mobilized. I always wonder what a delay actually means. And there's Christmas. So even if we say, yeah, let's do it, there's still the Christmas delay that means they don't go till January, February. So that I don't mind doing it. It's neat. It would be neat if we could hear from the proponent to say, what do you think about that? Not telling us what to do, but just say, that, yeah, I mean, we hear you, and we don't mind waiting a little bit longer so that you're more comfortable with this. Because I'm comfortable with many aspects of it, but the environmental piece is really important, and just how it fits going forward. I mean, sometimes I would go bigger, but anyway.
Okay, let's not go there. Councillor Shepherd, anything? No, and Councillor Rowe? No, you don't have to.
No. there's been so much commentary on this. I guess I'm, for my part, I'm very confident that staff are going to raise these issues as we go through the approval process. I mean, I'm really glad that Councillor Toth has raised the issue about the riparian area. I'm really glad that the developer has said that they're open to doing, sort of working one way or the other with council. So, you know, I guess it's just it's a matter of whether we want to insist at this point in this development to see all of this pre-planning for the entire area around it or not. That's what it comes down to me. And, you know, for my part, I'm quite happy with having those issues raised, keep the application going and note down what our sort of concerns are: environmental, riparian area, roads. And we're going to see that in the sort of second and third reading. So I'm actually against the motion put forward by Councillor McLaughlin, and I'm in support of staff resolutions here, or very good motion. Thank you.
Okay. No, okay, it's fine.
What Councillor Shepherd said.
Okay.
Pretty much. I can't support the motion that's on the table. It would be a different, I do want to see these issues addressed before I'd support it further than first reading.
Very good. Okay, you ready for the question? All in favor of deferral? Councillors Toth and McLaughlin in favor, all opposed. The rest of us. Okay. Motion defeated. Okay, so now council, we have the recommendations on page 19. And Councillor Shepherd will move.
So I will move approval of the recommendations 1 to 5 on page 19.
Very good, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bell seconds. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Looking at recommendation 5A, to confirm the water demand reduction and conservation plans to be implemented at the development permit stage. So we could hypothetically move forward with the project. This is for my own clarification. We could hypothetically move forward with this project, give it third readings and adoption, and still not have water demand reduction and conservation plans in hand tied to the property, because it would be contingent upon development permit being issued. I'm looking for that clarity.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good question, Mr. Hall.
Thank you. What we're trying to achieve here is similar to other rezoning applications. We'd still be looking for that commitment to water conservation and some plans to be identified at the rezoning stage. So it's still a condition of adoption of the rezoning that they provide us their water conservation plans that would be implemented as part of the development permit, but we're securing that commitment at the rezoning stage. So an example would be the next item on the agenda for Lot 5 Tower Road, the rezoning application there. We have a similar condition on the water conservation piece, and what the applicants have provided to us has been outlined in the report, but basically their commitment and what we're seeking as part of the resolutions for that report is a council endorsement of that water conservation, those water conservation measures, and then that resolution will carry forward into the development permit conditions when we bring those, back for council consideration, so that we are securing water conservation measures or an approach at the rezoning stage that we were looking to be further identified and described in the development permit conditions, if that's clear.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Yes, please.
Thank you. Just to follow up to that then, conceivably then we have a project that gets through to adoption. Council has endorsed water conservation measures through a motion of council. But if a development doesn't proceed right away, if it takes 2 or 3 or 10 years to get development permit issued. Are those recommendations attached to title in any manner? So that either the developer in the future or a future owner of the property knows that these are condition of development if they acquire the property?
Mr. Allen.
Thank you, your worship. There's two ways of achieving that. If council wishes to adopt the bylaw and it's unclear when the development permit might start, then yes, covenant on title, which runs with the land and remains a condition. The other option is, should the applicant apply for a development permit around the time of third reading, for example, we then ensure that that becomes a part of the development permit application, a part of the package that's put forth in front of council. So there's two options to ensure that it does in fact happen.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have a series of motions in front of us. Any other discussion? Not, I'll call the question. This is in reference to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A and B on page 19 of our agenda. All in favor? Opposed, Councillor McLaughlin and Toth opposed, the motion carries. So then I think I'm doing it correctly to say we go to bylaw. Yes, my computer's struggling with the 100 megabyte file that was our agenda package. Yeah. Okay, council, so are we on page 289? This is before us for first reading. It's and I shall read the bits. Bylaw number 492-36, 2023. And it's as referenced on page 289 of our agenda package. First reading for first reading. Councillor Rowe for first, seconded. Who would like to second this for first? Okay, got it from Councillor Shepherd. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, Councillors McLaughlin and Toth opposed, the motion carries. Great. Then we go to page 290. Oh, I had a question in here. Now that we've done this, our agenda package references 289, and then page 290 is blank. 291 is the map. I think I beg, folks, sorry, I missed this in my notes. Page 289 is actually the OCP bylaw. Is that correct? Did we vote on the correct thing? That was first reading. First, okay, as long as it's correct. Yes, I know, but the blank page, and then for some reason I was thinking we were headed out of order. Because then you see page 292 is the zoning bylaw. So I'm wanting to make sure we're voting on the right things, not committing a grievous administrative error. So are we clear, and is that correct, corporate officer, that the 289 and 291 are together? So 292 and 293 and 294 go together. All right. So I'll entertain a motion for first reading in respect to page 292, which is bylaw number 58008, being a bylaw to amend the District of Sechelt zoning bylaw 580 2022. Moved Councillor Shepherd, seconded Councillor Rowe. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Toth and McLaughlin opposed. The motion carries. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of that matter. Thank you, staff. A lot of and the applicant for a lot of work. Now get her built. Oh no, we got to do a few more readings before we can say that. Okay, council, we'll move to page 295, which is before us for the Lot 5 Tower Road. It's for adoption, along with endorsing, as Mr. Hall said a few minutes ago, a variety of conservation measures. How would you wish to proceed, Councillor Toth?
Thank you. So just to clarify, based on the recommendations on 295, we're looking to adopt the zoning bylaw. And then we're going to endorse water conservation measures that are conditions as part of the development permit. And they're secured with a section 219 covenant. So that section 219 covenant, just for clarity, is to be registered now, or if and when the developer actually applies for development permit. Thank you.
At this time, we're looking to have the water conservation measures endorsed by council through resolution that would carry forward to the development permit conditions. And if necessary, at the time of approval of the development permit, also secured with a covenant. But at this time, we're not looking to have a covenant registered on title at this time as a condition of the rezoning. Because we anticipate the developer moving forward with development permit and subdivision applications once the rezoning is done. We felt that having the council simply endorse these measures that the applicant is committed to as a resolution to carry forward to the impending development permit application would be sufficient to secure their commitment moving forward. And if for some reason they were going to be a substantial delay, we could look at other options, but for now, simply having council endorse these commitments as a condition for a development permit, and even if for the ownership of the property to change and somebody new comes in and applies for a development permit based on the new zoning, we would have the council resolution to say, okay, council has endorsed this commitment for the development permit of this property, regardless of the ownership.
Okay, Councillor Toth, yeah.
Thank you.
Where you're going.
I certainly do not wish to upset the apple cart this late in the game, especially, as this is only something I really realized from a process perspective now. But if we do look at this adoption tonight, and then the applicant, whether it's financial or personal or whatever, causes a delay that could be in excess of current staff tenures here, things like that, I worry that we lose track of the resolution that goes with this property, which is part of why I'm bringing this up in conjunction with the last one we looked at. So I think I would like to see a little more process maybe going forward about securing these things before we adopt to ensure that they're not lost over time, if there is a time delay. So I wanted to flag that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I agree with that, and I don't think it's a major issue to register section 219 on title. So I don't see anything in the resolution saying that it wouldn't. Another process question, you can sign a 219, but I guess you don't have to put it on title. Anyways, I don't think we have any lawyers in the room, but perhaps Councillor Toth, do you want to add to the item 2 that it be registered on title?
Like I said, at this time, I'm not looking to upset the apple cart. I don't know what implications that could have with the zoning bylaw adoption itself, or if this should have been considered as part of the public hearing. So I'm not looking to change that for this project.
Okay, we got 3 years to keep it in mind. Okay, Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe that's a process question that we could talk to staff about later. But I just wanted to know, this is one of the first times that I've seen the full array of water conservation measures attached to a development, and I'm really happy to see it. I think staff have done a fantastic job. Water conservation is something that's within our control versus water supply, which is sort of the overriding issue right now. But so I just think it's terrific to see these measures broken out, be very specific, and I'm very supportive of this. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, be interesting to see how this plays out. I've never seen us approve before. As you look outside and saw the atmospheric river the other day, a complete xeriscape development. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with no lawn for kids to play on. So we just hopefully they go to the nearby parks that we provided in the community. I wanted to ask about the road though, just some clarification. I think council's aware of the undevelopedness and the thinness of Tower Road. So it's not clear whether because we focus so much on xeriscaping, we kind of need to keep the big picture in mind often. How will the road be improved? The roadway, Tower Road. I think I just wanted to say though, Chair, that if council's been up there, it's a thin road. It's cornered. It doesn't have a lot of light at night, so it's not necessarily as safe as it could be. So that's why I was asking about what's happening with that road. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Hall, can you offer us any comments?
Sure. Certainly, any development, when they move forward through subdivision development permit is responsible for their road frontage. In this case, obviously, there's Tower Road on this property. There's also Reeves Road on the other side of the property. So that is something we will be looking at in terms of works and services for the development moving forward. What is the condition of Tower Road now? What would need to be done to make any upgrades or improvements that are necessary for this development to go ahead? And there's also an active subdivision application on the neighboring properties to the southwest that would also be required to do their portion of Tower all the way down to Tyler Road, and then a chunk of Tyler to Emerson. So a big chunk of Tower Road would be subject to development that would therefore be required to make whatever improvements are deemed necessary along it. And if necessary, there's always the ability for the local government to seek extended works, going beyond the frontage, if there's a need for the developer to do more work to service their subdivision, or if we get into work done at the same time that maybe doesn't directly benefit their development, that you're getting into latecomer agreements or things like that. But there's definitely, that'll be a big part of the works and services piece moving forward, is what do they need to do on Tower Road, what do they need to do on Reeves Road, and so that'll definitely be part of the application moving forward for subdivision.
Okay. So you hear us, Mr. Hall, but yeah, I think, yes, yeah, he hears us. Okay, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I seem to remember seeing that this development will actually require an SCRD pump station as part of its phasing requirements. I thought I remembered seeing that in drawings when we saw it previously. So I'm just looking for confirmation that that is indeed the case. Yeah, maybe it's the other project.
I think it might be the other project.
Yeah, I'm not off the top of my head. I don't know if it's this one or the other one. Certainly, as we move forward, that all those items would be identified as part of the works and services required for them to move forward. I can't recall though whether it would be this one or the other one.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I'm just wondering, I know certain people don't want to put an end to this development. I understand that. But I think with Homes for People now, it's kind of changed my view of these small lot subdivisions. And I sort of wonder if it might be better to have bigger lots that have multiple dwelling units on them, which is being suggested as a new way of moving forward. I don't know how many units would be on a larger lot, but it offers more homes for more people to have a larger lot with, numerous homes in that lot. And I'm wondering with these small lots, I'm imagining they're because they are such small lots. They would be small bungalows with single attached garages, but aren't homes required now to have suites? They're going to be required to have suites. So where is the suite for these units? Are they going to convert their garages to suites, which is going to put a lot of possible parking on the streets? I'm just trying to think about whether this, with all the new government policy, is this really the way to go? Or what will happen if we approve this? How will it actually end up looking on the street? So despite the conservation efforts, I'm just wondering if it is appropriate to move forward with this without thinking about the new legislation coming forward and what it will actually mean. And would it be a much better utilization of land and services to try something different here? Thank you.
Thank you. Did I get a motion? Are we, no, okay, thank you. Yes, please. Or it depends what you say.
Yeah, I know what, Councilor McLaughlin's referring to, but it's once again a larger discussion with the need for housing in our communities where densification needs to occur. We look at densification in those areas of Sechelt, we need to look at large road improvements because we're increasing usage and traffic. So once again, it's a planning discussion that we need to get ahead of in order to create. I mean, Nickerson's I've talked about this, is really good feeder road, but Tower is not a very good road for increased traffic based on the curve and the areas nearby that have a single road access. So single lane access near the park, which is very dangerous. I think planning is well aware of that, because the bus has to go through there, and I don't know if council's aware of that, but when the bus goes through, there's virtually no room for pedestrians and barely room for cars in that area. So we got to watch over where we put density. But anyway, I think honestly, when we start talking about this, I think density needs to go there. Right, that's where we need to start talking about. But anyway, it's just
there.
Well, just further along.
We're all trying to figure out which way you're
just
pointing.
that area up there, that's where because it's not
Yes.
developed yet. It's close to services and there's road
Okay.
infrastructure.
Okay, so I will apparently need a motion if you're so inclined. Everybody looks at their phones and their computers. Councilor Rowe.
I am happy to move recommendations 1 and 2A through E.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councilor Shepherd. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Councilor McLaughlin opposed. The motion carries. And then we go, I believe, to 301, which is bylaw number 580-05, 2023 regarding Lot 5 Tower Road to amend the zoning bylaw. Everybody there? So this is for adoption. You'll see look at that. We've been at it since March. Okay. What do you want to move adoption? Councilor, yep. So I moved and seconded. Councilor Shepherd and Toth. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Councilor McLaughlin is opposed. The motion carries. Right, then we go to the sewer local service, page 304. The sewer service area extension to 5980 Sechelt Inlet Road and 5512 Sechelt Inlet Crescent. I had a question. Ms. Smith has left, so it'll go to Mr. Yates, I guess. Do the owners of this property need to pay a DCC? Sorry.
Yeah, Your Worship, yes, when the subdivision is completed, the DCCs are applicable to industrial properties as well.
Okay, so they will have to
Yeah.
pay in addition to the parcel taxes and so on going forward. Okay, and did that happen on Seashell Inlet Crescent? Trying to remember around there.
Predates me, but logically speaking, I would say it's in a DCC area. If not for the sewer, certainly for the roads and so forth and water.
But what
Yeah.
matters is even if it's you're being brought in after the fact, you should be paying your share of a DCC. So that is our intent and our
Correct.
approach.
And our DCCs will be paid upon the subsequent creation of these industrial lots, and adopting this bylaw is one of the steps along that path towards subdivision completion.
Yeah, thank you. That's just important to be equitable and not set a precedent with unintended consequences. Okay, council, what's your wish? How do you wish to proceed? Motion?
I think I'm moving recommendations on page 306, which is actually after the bylaw that we're giving adoption to.
Yes. Yes, you are. That too was in my notes, but after. So yes, council, as Councilor Toss said, 306 and 3078 are, and the attachment are all the staff report, so we should receive that report. Removing that, Councilor Toss. The second. For the recommendation, not receive, I said receive, but the recommendation on 306. Okay. And the second, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Councilor McLaughlin, I didn't see a vote. Councilor Inkster? Yeah. Okay. Well. So I'm gonna call that motion carried. That's for the recommendation that the bylaw be adopted. So then we'll go to page 304, which is the bylaw, and look for a mover and seconder for adoption. Are you voting? Councilor.
I apologize, Your Worship. There's a typographical error on the bylaw itself that will be corrected upon adoption, but I just want it noted to note it in the minutes for our meeting tonight that what was presented on the agenda will have a minor correction on the date of adoption.
Yes.
Which was not November 15th.
Right, because we gave the first, second, and third readings on November 15th. And so the last of those 4 lines will be, today should be adopted. Thank you. Motion to adopt, thank you. Second, yes, okay. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Let's see. Yep, thank you. Opposed? Councilor McLaughlin, motion carries. All right, that takes us, I believe, to the minutes. So we're on item 7.1. And that's on page 314 onwards. Okay. My request is that 316, item 4. The statement, the mayor provided a statement to the public. Actually, I was speaking to council. And did in fact reference some of my comments. So I'd like to see that amended, please. The mayor provided a statement to council regarding. I'm not sure why that's in italics, but maybe that's e-scribe. Okay, so that suits everybody. I'll entertain a motion to, unless there's any other corrections. Motion to adopt. I know it's been a long day. Moved. there a seconder? Thank you. All in favor of adoption as amended? Carried. And then we go to the council meeting of November 8th. Nothing to, so this is our regular. About this? About the meeting of November 8th? Yes, yeah, sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to actually commend our staff with this transition to eScribe. The way these are presented, when you see 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, there's, it's a closed meeting. We can't talk about what happened. But there's a little bit more transparency in that we were talking about specific items and what clauses they were under. It's something I've spoken out about previously. So I think this is actually a great move with this new system we're using.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Second, all in favor of adoption? Then we go to item 7.3 on page 319. My contribution is, did we really recess? Do we recess at the, sorry, bottom of page 319. We recessed at 4:02. Right. Recessed the open meeting and we reconvened. Thank you. Okay. Motion to adopt and seconded. All in favor of adoption? Carried. But not least for tonight, meeting minutes. Yes, put their hand up. Somebody put their hand up for November 15th. Don't flinch or I'll call a question. Okay. Any concerns, comments, questions? Okay, all in favor, sorry, moved, seconded, all in favor? Carried. Almost there, folks. The committee of the whole meeting of November 21st and 22nd. Lengthy minutes regarding our budget meetings, preliminary budget meetings. Okay. Don't make me beg. Okay, moved by Councillor Rowe, seconded by Councillor Shepherd. All in favor of adoption, carried. Same thing for November 8th. Oh. Yes, November 8th on page 335. Just want, I guess that the reference, the second to the last bullet point, Mr. Allen. I recall our Mr. Nios confirming that in fact most of these rentals were certainly over 30 days, but they weren't what would be considered permanent long what's it called, tenancy, residential tenancy. Yeah. So they may be workforce housing, which we need, but unfortunately they're not likely to be long-term in that sense. Okay, motion to adopt as presented. Thank you, and I'll second that to keep it moving. All in favor? Carried. Okay, whew. So we go to item, unless there's new business, folks, item 10.1, the SCRD Board Directors Report. How are you gentlemen gonna want to handle that? You've had a full week. Sir Inkster?
Councillor Toff and I have
I've discussed the presentation of this material. Councillor Toth did I think everyone knows who I am by this time in the meeting. The Councillor Toth chaired both meetings and was able to steer the meetings to 2 days and basically 3 o'clock each day, with the second day looking at 1 times. We heard that after the first day, it was looking like, and this is very predictable of our situation in the district, a Sechelt into the regional district, it was above 9%, not saying that ours necessarily is there, just we usually start high. We will be looking for the figures after the second day, because we did not hear that from the CFO as we'd previously done. I think it was just a second day long, 2 days, but we will get that information to see where it is. But remember, it's preliminary. The organizational review will come soon as part of this process. And we are seeing increased costs, as everyone knows, in borrowing, materials, and wages. That's one of the pressure factors at the regional district level that we're dealing with once again with the district of Sechelt. There's 2 more rounds to come in which we look at things such as 1 times, and I have the file in front of us. Some of them have moved forward, some are looking for more information. We have 2 more rounds to go, 2 days, and then usually 1 day, as the chair remembers from last year. And we'll be able to provide more information at that point. I wanted to mention that the 2 alternates have been sworn in to the regional district, and I believe, and if Councillor McLaughlin hasn't done this, we'll just make sure she is connected to the information that she may require on a regular basis, and or if she's needed there, that will connect her up with the computer system to make sure that she has access to the share information that the 2 directors have at that table, just to make sure that all 4 of us are on the same page with information at that table. But like I said, they've been sworn in, and Councillor McLaughlin was already sat in on the end of a meeting the other day. So that's good. So there's quick integration of our 2 alternates into that regional district government system, and they've been there already for 1 or 2 meetings to observe. So it's good to see them there. And that's all for me at this point in reference to the budget, and Councillor Toth may want to add some pieces to that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. As Councillor Inkster mentioned, a lot of items got referred to round 2, probably about 1/3 of the asks, because anything that had a staffing implication, it was recommended to just refer to round 2, recognizing that organizational review is coming before round 2, at least a preliminary presentation. Materials, fuel, utilities, all, going up every year. There are some projects, they're called projects, but one item, for example, was $70,000 a year in new hazardous material insurance that's required at the landfill. Landfill's almost at end of life. It hasn't been required for the 50 years it's been there so far. $70,000 a year, no option. Just handed down from the insurer. So with regards to that, directors are in a very uncomfortable place with the level of where things are at for increases this year. There's going to be a lot more work going on at round 2. We have asked staff to come back with some possible opportunities to use either the gas tax funding for the rural areas or the Growing Communities Fund that the SCRD received to try and offset some projects that might have a taxation impact. I don't know if the request will come before we're done our budgeting, but part of that may be that the SCRD asks for a little bit of cost sharing. If they're putting in money from the Growing Communities Fund for the electoral areas, they may ask for a little bit from the District of Sechelt and Town of Gibson's from their Growing Community Funds. Again, to help offset taxation requirements. In addition to that, we had a dock management plan presentation from the province and the Sechelt Nation. It was an extremely well attended meeting. I have no qualms about saying it was probably the best attended local government meeting on the Sunshine Coast ever. In that we had 75 or 85 people try to get into the boardroom, overflow into the lobby. We had another 180 people on Zoom and another 280 watched it live on YouTube. So big meeting. There was a lot of community angst. Obviously, the dock management plan has some big impacts for a lot of people. But I think the directors had good questions. We did take some opportunity to take some questions from the gallery. We couldn't get to everybody, but they were quite respectful of the delegation, which was good. The last time the province and the nation were presenting on the dock management plan was up in Area A in 2016, and the meeting went quite poorly, from what I understand. So it goes to show that, you know, if the meeting is, if the right tone is set at the start of a meeting and what have you, that they can stay quite respectful, the meeting can be productive. And I think I'll leave it there with the SCRD. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Inkster.
I didn't think we were touching on the other meetings, but that meeting was, that meeting, the dock plan that was referred to, and there's a number of our citizens, just so council knows at that meeting, which is important to us to know. So there's a number of our citizens that needed some information on that. I did ask if they were going to come to present to us, and they indicated that they hadn't thought of that. So if we want them to come and present, maybe we could ask them and see if they'll come and present. That's the province, and also, of course, Sechelt. They may. I think it's important that because we're a maritime community as well, that they maybe come and speak to us if possible. The meeting was well attended. I guess with electronics now, it's the numbers that Councillor Toth mentioned, but I think the Silverback council meeting in 2011 was the biggest meeting I've ever seen, and that was at the Seaside Center overflow. But anyway, that was a really well-run meeting, and if any council members are there, Councillor Shepherd's nodding as to what happened there and how it was managed, and the fact that there was a motion put forward to request an extension of the submission deadline, which made I think it presented the regional district in a good light of representing the concerns of their citizens to the province. So I think that looked good. Just touching on a couple of things with the budget that I wanted to mention too, that when we did the strat plan a number of months ago, and I mentioned the two big issues, water and waste management. And obviously the budget has large pieces in reference to those two strategic plan pieces. There's a lot of big water cost and asks. So as has been seen with the concern from the two Sechelt directors over the rates that was put in the newspaper, we're also taking a close look at the project proposals in order to make sure that for the cost of those projects, that there's enough volume. So that's a big concern. And I wanted to mention on the waste management issue that they're looking at some initial costs for extending the life of the landfill. So we'll see where that may go, because the alternatives for not extending the life of the landfill and the costs associated with that and the potentiality of trying to put our waste somewhere else and the costs associated with that and all the philosophical questions are huge. So I'm glad that staff is trying to look at solutions to the existing site. That's all I will have on budget till next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
You either want to comment? You had the November at the same dock management meeting. Obviously I was in Ottawa, but you had the water discussion as well, the reservoir. Anything you want to offer?
Yeah, I mean, the nation did present on the Lower Crown Reservoir along with JDS Consulting, I think, which is their mining consultant. Honestly, I don't have notes for that meeting, so I can't speak to too many of the specifics. It was streamed, we did have a few good questions from that meeting. That was largely in support of an ask for the SCRD board to approve reallocation of funding for $100,000 for staff to do preliminary, to do the review that they need to do in the coming months to determine whether the Lower Crown Reservoir is feasible from a regional district perspective. So the idea here would be that the nation would construct it and they would lease the footprint to the SCRD, and the SCRD would operate the reservoir. But staff still need to do that cost analysis in the back end of what it would look like to run it, hydro for pumping, all of those things. So yeah, there's $100,000 that's being reallocated from other surface water exploration, with that being asked to come back in 2025 for refunding. So
Yeah, thank you. Yes, please, Councilor Shepherd.
Sorry, if you don't mind if I chip in on that, because I attended that meeting. What's I found really concerning is how stretched the staff are at the SCRD to analyze something this significant. They have so much on the go already with the other water solutions. It's really, I don't know if they have to go to outside consultants, or it's going to be a really difficult thing for them to properly analyze, given their other priorities that they're working on. Just a thought.
Yep. Well, no, and what I was told is that there was some ambition, I guess, for it to be ready in 2024, but there was some clarification that it's not ready for this coming year. So we're at least 1 year with needing short-term solutions. So I'm agreeing with you, but I also concerned that we put the priorities on getting us water next summer.
as a piece of good news, though, I have seen an awful lot of Neptune water technology trucks around. So they're doing the water meter installations in the district of Seashelt. I've seen them hard at work upside down in holes on Seashelt Inlet Road even. So they are out there and they are getting meters upgraded and installed.
Okay, thank you. Then we go to councilor reports. Councilor McLaughlin, are you ready?
As mentioned, I did sit at the SCRD table. Felt the nation was very brave to take on dock management on one hand and then the Crown Reservoir on the other. So it was an amazing meeting, really. Otherwise, I've just been starting to enjoy some of the festivities. I attended the weekend Light the Lights and saw the parade. Was so happy to see so many families and kids out. You know, we have a young community here too, and they need our support, and they had a good time. Also, I attended a community services event, which was kind of like an open house, a community building exercise, where they had this nice tree near Cap College, and they lit it up, and it was, you know, having a nice kind of curry soup and hot chocolate, and everybody just kind of getting into the spirit. So that was nice, even though there was horrible rain and they had to kind of change and have it inside, but it was very nice to attend that. I hope next year, it's the second year they did that. Next year, I hope to bring more people and let people appreciate that and enjoy it. No, thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor Rowe?
I'm not going to say too much, only that we just had, not related to council, but our junior hockey society put on an alumni game last Saturday night, sold out, 900 people attended. It was great. It was a great community event, and we can't wait at getting to work on our next priorities, which are actually going to be doing some improvements to the inside of Gibson's Community Center that will improve the viewer experience, the spectator experience, not just for hockey, but for anything in there. So thanks to the community for all their support.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Inkster?
Thanks. The Festival of the Lights and the Parade of Lights, I think it was the longest ever that I've seen. It was quite long. I remember when they used to go 1 or 2 times extra around. You may remember that. Oh, they're coming again.
Last
Um,
year.
Was that last year?
Well, no,
Oh,
some
okay.
of us went around twice.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
much
What are
fun.
you doing there again? But yeah, when it originally started, they used to go around and around, and just the numbers of people that are there. Yeah, it's like Canada Day, basically. It's just darker and colder. But it's good to see the community out. I mean, everyone on the coast talks about coming to Seashelt for those events, so it's just good to see all the people in downtown Seashelt enjoying it. I want to touch on the ferry. We had an FAC meeting the other day. As council may recall, we were at UBCM for the last FAC meeting, which, just means that I wasn't there to necessarily report everything that was happening, but the FAC works very hard in my absence. They got a good group of people, and the chair is very effective. She's the FAC chair of all the FACs, as council may know. Just to update council and community on some of the things with the ferries next summer. And I'm not sure if council knows this already. I've told a couple because it's kind of exciting until they get that second boat, that they will have two ferries on our run for 7 days a week. So obviously they've found that boat that they can use from the fleet and have planned to crew it. So we won't have those really annoying, I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I just don't want to screw that up, that those really annoying Tuesday, Wednesday days where everyone thought, I think 3 years ago, everyone thought those were the good days to go on the ferry. Does everyone remember that? And then it wasn't the 2 good days to go on the ferry because they only had 1 boat. So, so we got issues, but that will help. And the FAC continues to work with and lobby with the government on a number of issues. They're very aggressive, trying to stay within the lines. And I just wanted to mention that there was lobbying for more TAP forms, another important thing to the community with reservations. So we all know when we have a TAP and we have to get to the appointment and we can't get on the ferry. Now there's TAP forms, which is free passage for those that need to get to Vancouver for medical appointments, but they now have reservations attached. So they can get on those boats to get to those appointments in the busy summer months I've just referenced. The BC Ferries Corp has heard the concerns from the community regarding the people being held up above the gate. And I'm sure, once again, everyone's aware of this, that what was happening last summer, people being held in the heat. The fry pan up there with not enough washroom facilities for the aged and younger people. BC Ferries have heard constant complaining, very aggressive complaining for the FAC. The issue may be, confusingly, the issue appears to be who controls that piece. Is it Modi themselves, Highways Department, or BC Ferries who runs that piece up there and how they then manage it? So, it's very confusing as to why they can't just talk to each other. But we'll continue to talk about that and get more washrooms and more porta potties up there and more better washrooms than just porta potties. Not everyone likes to use those. So we'll continue to work on that, and hopefully it'll be better this summer coming up, because it's just not a good situation. And there's some confusion as to why traffic's being held up there anyway, when Nanaimo doesn't appear to be held up there. So let's keep working on this, and I'll keep reporting back to council, but it's a good group, and they're like a dog with a bone, let me tell you. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
I attended the airport committee, the housing action table, and the Christmas parade. Thank you.
Councillor Bell, can you beat that?
No. So I came home last night, and this is going to be very hard for me. RCMP, I was driving home and RCMP came flying by me. And then I drove to my place, or came to my road, and it was closed. And scared the heck out of me. I didn't know what was happening, so I had to be detoured around. And I came around, and people were coming out of the houses and saying, "There's a house on fire." And of course, I was terrified it was mine. And I came running down, and it was one of our community members standing there with his dog and his wife and two girls. Little girls are okay. But as we stood there and we hugged, and it was watching this happen as memories, their memories inside those four walls burned away. But I bring this up because today I saw a community come together, and I really find out what community is about. There are lineups to come and see Chris, who's the father and the father and the dad. What can we do? What can we do to help? I've got this, I've got that, and it was just amazing to see. So I just want to say how important the community is, this amazing place. And we started a GoFund page, and already over up to $4,000. And they will need that as their house is completely gone. So community is very important. The second thing that I want to acknowledge is Chief Pike. I called him today, and I just gave him this feedback as well. I said, I was incredibly amazed at your leadership, and all of the volunteer firemen that were there. It was incredible to watch. They were so efficient. They were there within probably 10 minutes. And Tewanik, as we know, is a long ways out. And we watched them for hours because this was one of the most difficult fires they have ever fought. It was propane fueled. So the fire wouldn't go out. And each time it would go out, the propane gas blew more, and the fire continued. But as I say, to watch our firemen, the Sechelt firemen and the leader, Chief Pike, and all of the volunteer firefighters that we have to serve this community was absolutely incredible. And we could be so proud, and I am so grateful to them. So I knew this is going to be very hard for me. And but it just makes me even more proud to be a part of this community.
Thanks. Thanks. Thank you, Donna. Yep. Yep. I saw the fire trucks as well. You always get scared. And kudos to you for getting together the GoFundMe set up. Who knew?
Oh, many talents. I can raise money.
Hope so. Okay, I guess I would keep it very short. Just, I was in Ottawa all of last week, had about 12 meetings on Monday and Tuesday. Oops, sorry, we're already, you beat, go ahead, Councillor Toth.
I have nothing to say after Councillor Bell, so thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I was in Ottawa, 12 meetings or so on Monday and Tuesday. Thanks to our MP Patrick Weiler. I took my, we tried to deal with the issues of derelicts a little bit more, and we got some ideas. So I'll be talking with Lehewus, Lenora about how we might work on it together. Patrick invited me to an event sponsored by Canadian Agriculture, and you walk into a place in Ottawa and you meet a bunch of people you've known for years. They didn't know I was coming, and I didn't know they were coming. So including Dallas Smith, who some of you may know is the president of the Nanwakolas Council on the North Island. GMF council meetings, hopefully a bit of good news. There's some very big announcements coming early next year, some of which hopefully will benefit the Sunshine Coast. I should mention all of this is done by the GMF. They pay the flights and the hotel, and Monday and Tuesday was on me. This also is gonna be hard, because in the last month, we've lost four really important people. I don't know how many of you know Bill Clark, but Bill was the founding president of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. Aaron, you'd know him. Long fight with diabetes, and I believe the society will be honoring him in the not too distant future. Of course, many of you will know, and this is what Doug Hockley gave me about 2 weeks ago. So it was, for those who don't know, it's a cudgel, and I will put it back in the bag. But he said he had such a big heart, a big vision for Seashell, always had crazy, grand ideas, and he was always passionate about making Seashell absolute best that it could be. I think everybody has heard about the incredible tragedy that Tom Lamb and his family have suffered losing Bev Shaw. And that fell out of my briefcase as I got ready for tonight's meeting. So, Bev, very dear friends. And last but not least, I was honored to be able to attend Barb Higgins' celebration of life in the Longhouse. As some of you may know, Barb is a elder, great storyteller and a good friend. And unfortunately, I had to leave to take the flight to Ottawa, but she'll also be missed. Our thoughts go to her family, Holly and Robert. Okay, so I guess it's just all of that's a reminder that, you know, be thankful for what we do have. Enjoy every day as much as we can. So so that's my report. So let's go back to council correspondence. We have two things, one from the Sunshine Coast Labor Council, living wage. Also, that's for our information and action should you wish. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I've actually been fortunate enough to have received the living wage presentation up at the regional district. And I'd like to make a motion to invite the Sunshine Coast Labor Council to a future committee of the whole to present on living wage on the Sunshine Coast.
Seconded. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, carried. Then the next one is oh, I know. Okay, so appeal for a letter of support, coincidentally from the Astronomical Society. Councillor Rowe, what?
Thank you. Totally supportive of giving them providing them whatever letters of support they need for grant funding. I just wonder if it's premature to provide them a letter of support before they've identified a grant to go after. Just process wise.
You think they have something? Yeah, there was an email that went around. Like it's a $3,500 grant.
Okay, I just missed it
So,
then.
Councillor Bell?
Yeah, I mean, if I can help, I know what Councillor Toth is saying is that if we provide a letter with a direct support for a particular fund and or application, that would be much more effective than a general letter. So how do we make a motion to support the particular application for the particular grant? Do we just ask for that?
I'm confident there's a specific grant. Please. There.
Corporate officer may know.
I'm hoping she does.
Yeah.
Easy beat.
Your worship, I believe they're looking for a resolution supporting the accessible washroom that they would like to add. And then regardless of where the funding source comes from, they have that endorsement from council and also to place it on the property.
Moved? Okay. Seconded? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. All right. Yes. Excellent suggestion. All in favor? We're adjourned.